You're watching Byline Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Here's your host, Don Ansell.
Welcome back. Gay marriage or same-sex marriage is our topic of discussion. In this segment, we welcome the Reverend Amanda McCulloch. She's the former pastor for the local Metropolitan Community Church. They have a large gay population in their congregation, and she's presided over marriages, civil ceremonies, and she is also in a committed same-sex relationship. Pastor, nice to see you.
Good morning, John.
I've known Pastor McCulloch for many years now. And in case folks haven't picked it up yet, you grew up in England.
I grew up in England, and I left there 11 years ago.
How different do you think the experience, since you've been on both sides of the pond, the experience was growing up for you, or coming out in Great Britain as opposed to the States?
I certainly feel that it was a little easier for me in England, and ultimately I think the religious voice is not as big in England as it is here. I mean, we aren't called the frozen chosen for nothing. You know, only 9% of the population in Britain goes to church, and they are fairly senior, and that voice that would speak out against homosexuality and Christianity is just not there. Also, I think England has a name as a nation of sort of extrovert, rather eccentric peoples, and you know, we have people like the Lord Sutch, who has the monster raving loony party, who shows up at every political occasion.
Is this a gay person?
Yes.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, he would call himself, you know, sexual. And he's a true lord, and you know, we have these characters. So
is gay marriage per se, or same-sex marriage, is it legal?
it is now legal in England.
It is legal in England.
It is, yes.
But that's a recent development?
About 2 or 3 years ago,
Okay.
Don. Yeah.
Okay. And what brought you over to America?
I'd have to say God, and falling in love with a little church on Castle Street and the people that were there.
So you came to be the pastor at Metropolitan Community Church. Is that what brought you over?
That's exactly what brought me over, yes.
And you've been ordinated as a cleric in what faith?
Well, first of all, I was in the Church of England, but my ordination took place in England, but in the Metropolitan Community Church, which is, you know, essentially a Christian church with a very inclusive outreach, a very ecumenical theology, very open and affirming, and you know, quite wonderful.
And you've performed traditional marriages.
Many.
I know heterosexual couples that you've married.
Many.
And in North Carolina, what weight does and you do civil ceremonies?
Yes.
Is there any weight to civil ceremonies in North Carolina?
None. None at all.
So legally it's not a marriage?
Not at all. Not at all.
In the eyes of the government?
In the eyes of anyone, really, except those that are there supporting and under God, I would believe, our inclusive, unconditional God.
Would you say that the U.S. government, with the Defense of the Marriage Act, which prevents same-sex marriages on a federal level, and the states that do not permit gay marriage, which it's a growing number that are permitting it, would you say that that's discriminatory?
It is. It is absolutely discriminatory. If you can't say it's okay for this group and not okay for that group when we have a constitution that says we're all equal.
Have some same-sex couples that you know gone to states that allow same-sex marriage and had that ceremony?
Many from Wilmington have gone to California, Massachusetts, and enjoyed very much having their same-gender loving relationship recognized and validated, and it's been a lot to them.
You're in a committed same-sex relationship. Are the two of you legally married?
Not yet.
Is that under discussion?
No, it is, yes, and it's just you know, one hopes that will happen in North Carolina. I would hate to have to go to England to do that. I feel my home is here. So, you know, one just, if Iowa can do it, Don, if Iowa can do it, then North Carolina.
But you could go to Iowa and get married, but you'd have to establish residency?
I'd have to, yes, exactly.
What are there advantages to a legal marriage?
Well, there's certainly, there are rights, over 1,000 of them, and that's all very political. And yes, there are a lot of people that want those equal rights. For me, I just want to be an equal member of society and have my family recognised and validated, just like anybody else's.
And as I mentioned, you're the former pastor for the Metropolitan Community Church here in Wilmington, and as such, you were a member of. And correct me if I'm wrong, it was called the Interdenominational Ministerial Council?
Yes.
Was that the correct name? What was the attitude toward you and this whole issue of same-sex marriage among, and that consists of folks that pastor churches in the area?
Absolutely, yes. I would say that the majority of the members of that ministerial roundtable are progressive, Christians, Jews, Muslims, and they would affirm same-sex marriage. However, within their congregations, you are still getting varying groups of voices. But by and large, this is important. By and large, I'd say in Wilmington, the members of the ministerial roundtable would affirm same-sex relationships.
The leaders of the churches in Wilmington, Baptist, Episcopal.
No, I'm talking about the members of the ministerial roundtable.
Well, are there members from the Baptist faith?
Actually, not. However, I would say that I know of Baptist ministers who are unconditionally pastoring all their flock, just as they are, regardless. And then there are obviously many Baptist ministers that are not.
Well, what was the journey like for you coming out? We're almost out of time. I shouldn't ask that, but we have 1 minute. Yeah,
okay. I was a bit of a coward, Don, I have to say, and I wasn't on the front line of that. My mother found out through a partner, asked my partner. However, it was difficult, and I had my own journey with drugs and alcohol because of that whole problem, which I've now, received all the help I need to be able to sit here comfortably today. But I mean, it was a rough road.
Yeah, and how old were you when you?
Well, I knew when I was at school, in my teens, I knew. I don't know that I actually came out comfortably until I was in my 30s. It's a long, painful journey.
We're going to talk more about that journey, and we're going to be rejoined by Jake and Ray, committed same-sex couple. And we'll kind of wrap this up and talk about a few loose ends as we continue our discussion on same-sex marriage. Don't go away. Stay with us.